Hey writers, welcome back to the channel. My name's Kaitlyn and I have written quite a few romance novels and have read hundreds since basically I was 13 years old. Yeah, I used to steal romance novels off my mom's bookshelf when I was a kid. So I've read a little bit of everything from Regency to paranormal to romantasy, contemporary, you name it, I've read at least one book like it. And let me tell you, there are some things that I am absolutely sick of seeing in romance novels now. Don't get me wrong, I'm a romance reader through and through. Absolutely love romance stories, but there are some things that I'm just so tired of reading. So if you want to see if you agree with any of these, grab a pen, grab some paper, and let's get started. Number 1 is unbelievable and stiff dialogue. Dialogue is supposed to flow, it's supposed to sound natural, it's not supposed to sound like writing. Dialogue is meant to sound like two or more characters talking to each other, or maybe even just the character having a monologue with themselves. But when it comes across as so stiff that you can't tell whether you're still reading a chunk of a paragraph, or if the character is supposed to actually be talking to somebody, it's really off-putting when dialogue sounds like writing. Dialogue needs to have some sort of natural flow to it, especially if you have dialogue going on between more than one character. There needs to be a back and forth, a push and pull, sometimes interrupting people in the middle of sentences, abbreviating words that you typically wouldn't do in maybe a regular part of the story. Most people say I can't do something instead of I cannot do something. Most people say I don't want to go instead of I do not want to go. Even for books that take place in more historical periods of times, i.e. regional romances or medieval periods, where wording does tend to be a little bit more flowery, dialogue is still supposed to have a different tone and feel to it when you're reading it. You should be able to pull all of the lines of dialogue out and read it and have it sound like a conversation. And I'm so tired of reading books with stiff dialogue. Number 2 are spicy scenes that don't match a character's persona at all. If you have this weak, shy, timid girl, why is she suddenly a dominatrix in the bedroom out of pretty much nowhere? And I'm not talking the first couple of chapters to set up some sort of characterization and surprise. I'm talking the first or second time she's with the main male character and suddenly she just decides to take over and be aggressive when that has never been a part of her personality up until that page. Or maybe you have a cinnamon roll hero who's so sweet and protective, and when he kisses her it's soft and tender and gentle. And then as soon as he gets her in the bedroom, he's got his hand around her throat and is pulling out handcuffs. It's a little bit confusing as a reader to suddenly have these shift changes, and it feels completely inauthentic to the character that a writer has created. Don't get me wrong, I love non-vanilla scenes in my books. But when the characters have come across as vanilla the entire time, it feels so fake and inauthentic in that you're only doing it to try to up the ante and make the book as spicy as possible for marketing purposes. When really, all it does is pull me out of the story and can kind of give me the ick in some cases. So if you want your characters to have this sort of more aggressive, dominating personality in the bedroom, sprinkle that in a little bit before they actually get to the bedroom. More passionate kisses, more aggressive kisses. I'm not saying that a character needs to maul the other one, but give us some insight to show that once this character is actually in the bedroom, they are wild. They are untamed. They are not this sweet, lovable character that we have thought that they are the last, 50, 100, 200 pages. Number 3 is quirky names just for the sake of it. Now there are some unique names that I absolutely love reading, especially when it comes to new cultures and a character has a cultural background that I'm not familiar with. I love reading those names. But I hate reading romance novels that almost come across as YA or fantasy novels when they're not fantasy, just because they want a character's name to be quirky and different. There's nothing wrong with using classic names. Now if there's a reason for it, go for it. I love seeing character development through a name. Whether it be their parents had a really strong connection to something, so they named it after a musician or something. I actually started reading a book called The Words and the main character's name is Lennon because her father's a pretty famous musician. So he named her after John Lennon. As weird of a name as Lennon is when you're reading it, it makes total sense and gives some background to the character. But if they didn't give that and just call the character Lennon with no rhyme or reason, I'd be really put off by that. Number 4, really flat side characters who then become the main character of the next romance book. If you're going to have somebody become a main character in the next book, I want to know at least a little bit about them in the first book. Obviously, they're not one of the main love interests. I don't want to know too much. The book doesn't need to become about them, but give us some insight as to what the character's personality is like. Maybe a little bit of foreshadowing that's going to happen in the next book. Think about Bridgerton. One of the reasons people absolutely love this series so much is because people already know the character that the next season's going to be about. Season 3 is coming up and so many people absolutely loved Colin and they love Penelope. So seeing the two of them come together in the next season is going to be explosive for so many viewers. Even if a lot of us have already read the book and know exactly how it's going to end. So if you're going to create a series and have these side characters become romantic interests in later books, make sure that you start to develop the personality within book 1. Because I don't want some flat, unmemorable character to then become the love interest in the next story. Number 5 is repetitious language and phrases used during spicy scenes. Let me tell you, as a romance reader, I get so annoyed seeing the same phrases pop up over and over again. And I am very forgiving of crutch words. Every writer I know out there is guilty of using crutch words and having them. But I'm talking the phrases that you use over and over again. Did the beta readers not catch it? Did your editor not catch it? Did you not catch it in your multiple rounds of edits? Vary your language, shake it up a little bit. In fact, I always recommend this book for people who write spicy romance. I'll have it linked down in Amazon below in case you guys are interested in picking it up. It's amazing for people who write spicy scenes. But shake up the language a little bit. I don't want to keep reading the same phrase over and over again, especially if you're a writer who writes multiple spicy scenes in a book. They can become so incredibly repetitive. Even if you're changing up the setting, changing up what the characters are doing, the positions are in. If you keep using the same types of descriptors, it's going to get really repetitious and really boring fast. Number 6 are covers that don't really seem to fit their genre. There's been a lot of instances of kids picking up the book Icebreaker because it looks like a sweet little YA novel, when in fact it is filled with some filthy, filthy smut. Absolutely love the car scene where they're on the way to McDonald's. My god, does that feel like it could be a typical average college experience. Because I remember plenty of drunk rides to McDonald's, but the rest of that never happened to me in the back of someone's car. I love the animated covers that are becoming really common for rom-coms and contemporary romances now. But some of them really do come across as like a YA novel, instead of being a book loaded with really smutty, spicy scenes. And sometimes it's the other way around. Sometimes I've seen covers that look like they're supposed to be a dark romance, and it might be a little bit of like dark, taboo, triggering stuff going on. But there's just not that much spice. I mean, maybe 1 or 2 scenes in the entire book, which is so surprising and off-putting for a book that's supposed to be dark romance. And number 7 are seeing the words TikTok sensation or booktok sensation when I'm buying a book on Amazon. Seriously, what makes a book a TikTok sensation or a booktok sensation? Like, do you have to sell a certain number before you actually reach that Amazon will let you put that in your title? Or you just have to have like 2 or 3 readers actually talk about your book on there and suddenly it could be a sensation. I'm so tired of seeing that marketing phrase on books on Amazon. It can be really misleading, especially if it is a book that has like 30 reviews but is somehow a TikTok sensation. Don't get me wrong, if your book is successful on TikTok and blows up, go for it. But it's really misleading when people call themselves a TikTok sensation or a booktok sensation when they've had a book with maybe 50 reviews. Because we know you haven't actually sold a lot of books if you only have 50 reviews on Amazon. That's the sad, harsh reality. So that's it, guys. 7 things I'm so tired of seeing in romance novels now. Let me know if there's anything that gives you the ick or anything you're tired of seeing. Let us know in the comments down below. If you guys like this video, please hit the like and subscribe button down below. I would love to get this channel to 1,000 subscribers. It would be absolutely amazing. I would love for that to happen by the end of this year. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in my next video.